back to Season Liberally. Today we're gonna make Oaxacan bean toast with a pico de gallo that I made on Season Liberally 101. You're gonna wanna stick around for this. It's a wonderful dish. So hat tip to Chris Kimball. This is his recipe. It's one that I found and I absolutely love it. It's super fast, it's super easy, and one of the best parts about it is you only need your broiler for a few minutes. So you don't have to heat your whole house up during the summer. And it is absolutely marvelous. Now I'm gonna make this with a pico de gallo. If you wanna know how to make that pico de gallo, it's in my Season Liberally 101, but pico is a super easy thing, and I'm sure you probably already have your own recipe to make pico, so feel free to follow that as you see fit. But this particular recipe is shockingly easy. It's gonna be a bean toast, and when it's finished, we're gonna cover it with the pico, and it is a great first course, and it is wonderful during the summer. So to start out, we've got to dice a little bit of cilantro. We want to get our cilantro diced for both the dish itself, and then we also want to dice our cilantro up and mince our cilantro up for the garnish at the end. So we're gonna get a nice healthy amount of this cut up, and that's what we're gonna do first. Just gonna rock it a little bit, get it nice and minced. Talk about this on Season Liberally 101, but one of my favorite parts about cilantro is you can eat the stems. Stems are perfectly edible, nice and tender. Lots of herbs you don't get that, but you do get that with cilantro, and it's wonderful. Makes it so it's a super easy herb to use too. That's the right amount that we need. So to start this out, we're getting our pan warm here because we're gonna toast our spices. What I do is I'll use whole coriander. That's about 2 tablespoons worth. It's gonna grind down to about a tablespoon worth. And this is 2 tablespoons worth of whole cumin. And we're gonna get this hot first, then we're gonna toast these up. They only have to move around in the pan for a minute or so, but it really does add a lot of flavor to this. Now, I use an old coffee grinder, one that I've not used in a long time for coffee. I use it for spices. And I'm gonna use it today to grind these up, and so you'll get a nice powder out of these. All right, so I'm gonna toast my spices now. You wanna keep these moving the whole time. What you don't wanna do is have these stay stagnant. If you keep them moving, they're not gonna burn, and that's what you want. You wanna make sure they don't burn. You're gonna know they're toasted when you can smell them. Once you can start smelling them, then you'll know they're toasted, they're ready to go. There we go. You see a little bit of smoke coming off of there? It's perfect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set these in this bowl. Smells wonderful. We're gonna let them sit for a minute before we grind them. So we're gonna let these sit for a minute so that they wind up, because if I spin them too quick, there might be some steam released in here and it'll make it sticky, and we don't want that. So we're just gonna let them, they don't spin as well then. So we're just gonna let that sit for a minute. So we wanna get our broiler going now in our oven. I just hit the broiler to turn on. While I'm doing that, I'm gonna get my toast ready. While that broiler gets hot, we're gonna take a little bit of olive oil and we're gonna brush this nice bread. Now I bought this bread at the market, but you can bake your own bread. And if you're looking to learn how to bake bread, you can always check out my channel. I did that a couple different ways. I cooked homemade bread a couple different ways. Super easy to follow that direction. And that bread's really crusty, very similar to this. Nice dense crumb. So this is what you want. This is a big loaf of sandwich bread. You want something like that. Sourdough would work perfect. So we're gonna brush these up, both sides. I'm also gonna dash these with some salt so that every component here has a little bit of flavor. I'm gonna catch a little pepper on these too. These are gonna go under the broiler for about 3 minutes aside. I'm gonna take them out, flip them over, put them back in, Do not walk away. Don't go walk the dog while this is going on. These are going to burn on you, so watch them the whole time. Okay, we're going to add our spices now. They've had a chance to cool. We're going to give them a spin. I want to get it so that I'm not hearing any of those seeds bouncing around in there. As time goes on, it turns more and more into a powder. You can hear it. It's a powder now. I'm going to pulse it a couple times just in case there's any seeds in there that I missed. And there we go. We got our nice powder, and it's really fragrant. All right, so these were in the oven for a few moments. We don't want them in there for much longer than like 6 minutes, and that's 3 minutes aside. They cook really quickly. So now this bean paste that I'm making makes a wonderful dip on its own. You could just take whatever's left over and you can dip chips in it. It's really wonderful. So we're going to take 2 cans of these black beans, and I've drained them, but I have not rinsed them. And to that, we're going to add about 1/4 cup of the reserved liquid that came with it. So this is the liquid that came with it. We're going to add about 1/4 cup of reserved liquid to it. I'm going to add the spices that I ground up. I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to add some pepper. I'm going to add 2 chipotles, right? So they come in adobo sauce, these chiles. And I'm going to take a couple of teaspoons of this adobo sauce that come with these chipotles, and I'm going to put it inside of here. That's going to give it a nice spice. Now this is going to be warm. It's not going to be weak or mild at all. It's not going to be so hot that it's impossible to eat, but it will definitely have a little bit of heat to it. If you wanted less heat, you could add less chili, but I wouldn't suggest it. The fun of this dish is that you're sweating while you're eating it and you just can't stop eating it. It's amazing. So now this is just going to get spun until it's nice creamy paste. All right, so we got a nice paste here. Now that it's been spun once, we're going to add a little bit of lime and a little bit of cilantro. We didn't want to spin that too much. The cilantro gets a little, it'll dice up too much in there, and we don't want it to discolor. So we're going to add the lime now to add a little bit of moistness, and then we're going to add that cilantro too. And I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of this cilantro. So there we go. And we're only going to pulse it 3 or 4 times, and that's it. And then it's going to be done. That's it. This is ready to go. Now, like I said, you could just dip chips in this, and it is really good. It's a very tasty little quick dip. But what we're going to do is we're going to spread this on our toast, throw a little cheese on top, and top that with pico, and that's going to be out of this world. All right, assembly for these is pretty simple. What we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of this bean paste, and we're going to spread it onto here. You can see those chipotle peppers in there popping out. Really tasty. You make this as hot as you want too. You can dump all that chipotle in there if you want and all that adobo. So now I'm using mozzarella cheese. You could use Chihuahua cheese if you wanted to. This is whole milk mozzarella, but you can use Chihuahua. You could use, there's all different kinds of cheeses that you could use. A white cheese. You could certainly use like a Monterey Jack. But what we're going to do is we are going to put a little bit of this on top, and then we're going to broil it. And I'm making these like you would a meal rather than a first course. If you were doing first course, you'd put less bean paste on there. You would put less cheese. But I'm putting a lot of cheese on here because I'm treating this as if this were going to be a whole meal on its own. Before this goes in, I am going to sprinkle just a touch of cilantro on the top of these. And that's going to melt in to that. Now we're gonna throw these under the broiler and we're gonna keep an eye on them. We don't wanna walk away from this. It's kind of perfect. It's got a little bit of color. You can see that beautiful herb in there. These are ready to go. So now, on top of this, I like to sprinkle a little bit of pico, right? Oh, and that smell, you could just smell it up. It's beautiful. Little touch of pico de gallo. And let's cut a section out of this. We can try. Oh, look at how beautiful that is. All right. We're gonna give it hell. This is such an amazing summer food because you only heat your oven up just to run your broiler for a minute or two. The pico got that great garden fresh flavor. If you're interested in making pico, I just made it on Season Liberally 101, but you can make any kind of pico that you like. You can also make a different kind of salsa if you want to put it on top. But the pico really adds that. It's got that coldness to it, which is nice, and it's got a crunch, and then that bean paste underneath is absolutely marvelous. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this recipe. So like I said, hat tip to Chris Kimball on this. He currently does Milk Street, but he used to do Cooks Illustrated. The stuff he does and the stuff he puts together normally is really solid recipes. This one in particular, outstanding. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit the little bell below, give it an up thumb, share it with your friends. We're trying to do these on a little more regular basis, so be sure to hit that bell and be sure to subscribe. Hope to see you again. Thanks for stopping by.